It's Not Just a Game by Lori Calabrese. Whether you run a race, bounce a basketball, or hurl a baseball at home, you do it because it's fun. Some scientists claim play is a natural instinct, just like sleep. That might explain why sports are likely to be as old as humanity. Some claim sports began as a form of survival. Prehistoric man ran, jumped, and climbed for his life. Hunters separated themselves by skill, and competition flourished. Wall paintings dating from 1850 BC that depict wrestling, dancing, and acrobatics were discovered in an Egyptian tomb at Bani Hassan. The ancient Greeks revolutionized sports by holding the world's first Olympic Games at Olympia in 776 BC. But it wasn't until the early 19th century that sports as we know them came into play. Pardon the pun. Modern sports, such as cricket, golf, and horse racing, began in England and spread to the United States, Western Europe, and the rest of the world. These sports were the models for the games we play today, including baseball and football. Just paragraph 2 in your journals at this time. This paragraph, the first half of the paragraph is the history of how sports came to be, and the second half of the paragraph mentions modern sports. So take a moment to gist in your journal the paragraph. I'm going to ask you to type your gist later in the independent work. Pause, gist, and then press play. Paragraph 3. All organized sports, from swimming to ice hockey, are considered serious play. So when someone says that a sport is considered serious play, I want you guys to understand that this is an opinion. Why might it be an opinion? I might think swimming is purely for fun. I'm not Michael Phelps. I don't swim in the Olympics. I don't have goals of speed, right? I have a friend who used to play ice hockey in high school and college, and now it's just fun to him, and it makes him think of how it used to be when he would play on a team, and it reminds him of his friends. So that's not serious to him either. That's fun and nostalgic. So note why serious play might be an opinion. The opposite of the opinion would be a fact, and that's certainly not a fact. There are rules to obey, skills and positions to learn, and strategies to carry out. But Peter Smith, a psychology professor at Goldsmiths University of London and author of Understanding Children's World, Children in Play, says sport-like play is usually enjoyable and done for its own sake. Next section, different sports for different folks. Sports come in many shapes and sizes. Both team and individual sports have advantages and disadvantages, but most people find that from an early age they are drawn toward one or the other. In a team sport like soccer, you're part of a group striving to be a winning team. That means putting the team ahead of your own accomplishments. You must learn to get along with your teammates and share responsibility. In an individual sport like tennis, you're usually only concerned about your own performance. That can make these sports more challenging. I think they're more challenging as individuals because it's only you, but I still think a team sport is more challenging because you're not only worried about yourself, you're having to balance other people's reactions and skills, and you're working together. That's why they say you're only as strong as your weakest player. So in your gist for paragraph 4, tell me how these two different types of sports are different. Team sports and individual sports. Pause, tell me in the gist how they're different, and then press play. The ultimate value of sports. Whether it's football or golf, there's little doubt of the value of sports. According to the American Academy of Pediatrics, AAP, play is essential to the cognitive, brain, physical, body, social, people, and emotional feelings, well-being of children and youth. So what this evidence is saying is that play, like playing in sports, is super important for our brain, bodies, working with people, and our feelings. Play not only exercises our bodies, it also exercises our minds. So that sentence right there is explaining the evidence. This sentence here explains the evidence in front of it in quotation marks. Sports teach us about ourselves and the world. That explains the social and emotional. We learn how to negotiate plans, settle disagreements, and how to monitor our attitude. The skills we learn playing can be applied to school and work. Since organized sports are a hands on, minds on learning process, they stimulate our imagination, curiosity, and creativity. The growing science of play is armed with research claims that play, and thus sports, is important to healthy brain development. We use language during play to solve problems, we use thinking when we follow directions to a game, and we use math skills to recognize averages and odds of each sports play. For your gist in paragraph 5, I want you to tell me how sports is important to our entire being. You can mention how it's important to our bodies, how it's important to our brain, how it's important to interacting with people, how it's important to our feelings and emotions. I want to gist about paragraph 5. Paragraph 6, sports also raise our energy level and act as antidepressants. Activity increases the brain's level of chemicals called endorphins, which boost mood. When we start moving and having fun, we feel good about ourselves. Last section for getting the fun, last section for this lesson. In a perfect world, everyone would have fun playing sports, but it's not always the case. Sports can get aggressive and cause scrapes, bruises, and broken bones. So I'm thinking this is going to maybe tell me the negatives, when in paragraph 5 and 6, it told me the positives. They can also hurt us psychologically. David Elkind, professor of child development at Tufts University and author of The Power of Play, says that when young children play self-initiated games, so like, hey guys, let's play tag or hide and seek, misunderstandings and hurt feelings are part of the learning process and happen in a context of mutual respect. So think about when we were like in 3rd grade and everybody in PE is picking the people they want on their team. Our feelings get hurt when we don't get chosen or when we're tagged and the people laugh. Remember how we used to like cry at silly little pieces of those types of games? And now as we get older and more mature, we obviously don't care as much and it doesn't bother us as much. Those that arise in organized team sports don't have the same supportive network. The sense of competition outweighs in the sense of cooperation and can be hurtful to the child's sense of self and self-esteem. Playing sports is usually fun, but sometimes we can get frustrated. It might be because of the pressure to win, parents who yell and scream from the stands, or coaches who treat us unfairly. Sports are supposed to bring people together, but they can also drive people apart. Sometimes this happens in PE when we're having fun and then a fight happens. When sports are separated into skill level, gender, or ethnicity, some players feel isolated, begin to forget the fun in sports, and even want to quit. Sports may not always be a positive experience, but even when they're not, they give us a dose of how to face life's challenges. In this gist, I want you to explain in a one-sentence summary, how do people forget the fun in sports? So you should have a couple of gists for paragraphs 1 through 7 for today's lesson.